Okay. All right. Let's get into it. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And as you can see in the title, and there it is. And you're probably wondering, what is, what is he talking about this time? Well, as you can see here, this article before you from zerohedge.com, and the headline reads 2024, the inevitable rise of biometrics. And it's not a long read, but it does have some pretty, important information in here that is mentioned concerning biometrics. And, we know that the direction, the ultimate direction plus destination that biometrics is going to lead to, as you can see, the main sector now that is really using biometrics is financial, right? The finance sector. And now they are adopting this more and more. More companies are adopting it, and they are mainly, as was quoted in here, which is very key. They're mainly trying to go. Obviously, it's contactless. In some cases, it's more convenient, but it's more secure, as they're trying to push here. And what they're saying is 2024 is pretty much a year where you have a lot of like a boom for biometrics to really set up 2025, at least as it says here. So enough of me talking. Let me actually read it so you can hear it for yourself. But before I read it, I want to actually get this precept here in the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 11. And it reads, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed, which we don't know exactly what day that's going to be, but we know the signs of that time. And so as the apostle Paul is saying here, knowing the time, right, we know and understand the signs of the times. We know that it is high time to awake out of sleep. All right, sleep not being literal, but sleep being in an ignorant state of mind. Okay, we need to be awake and aware and vigilant, watching these prophecies, because our salvation is nearer than when we believed, and our salvation is going to come with the Lord when He comes back. But that's going to be triggered by these prophecies. Okay, meaning that they're very quickly approaching, and if you're not paying attention, they'll sneak up on you. So it says here, have you noticed a lot of two-factor authentication prompts lately? Yes. Almost everything now, all your accounts, whether it's emails or just basic websites that you would go to, almost all of them are moving towards this like two-factor authentication scheme, where they'll tell you to either download like a Google Authenticator or some form of authenticator, and it'll generate some code that you just input in to help you sign in. Are you getting emailed verification codes that take forever to arrive, so you have to request another? Perhaps you are asked to do CAPTCHAs to prove you're human, and they seem to be getting more complex all the time, or simply not working at all. Yeah, God, the two-factor authentication needs a two-factor. So it says, why do you think that might be? We'll come back to that. Did you know we're in a breakthrough year for biometric payment systems? You see, and that's the key part right there. Biometric plus payment systems. When you hear this, this is literally the mark of the beast speaking at you, because when you read in Revelation 13 and 16 and 17, the Revelation 13 and 16, that part is the biometric part, and the 17 is the payments part. Okay, when it talks about and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, that part is the biometric, because this technology they're moving towards is more so subdermal. They're trying to now put the technology in you. Okay, so now you are now a piece in the puzzle. And then the prophecy goes on to tell you in the 17th verse that and that no man might buy or sell. There goes your payments. Save he that had the MOTB, right? So they're calling it here a system because that's exactly what it is, right? These different components working together to achieve some goal, which is pretty much what a system is. So this they're calling 2024 the breakthrough year for biometric payment systems. So it's basically normalizing biometrics in whatever forms, right? There's eye scans, palm scans, face scans. Then there's implants inside of your body, your hands, your head, your brain, where you get your Neuralink. And as these things become more talked about and more widely accepted, a lot of these companies are going to start to adopt them. And what they try to do is they try to look for the most solid ledge that they can latch onto and use that as a propelling or driving force or even a Trojan horse to get people to adopt this system. And as we read, you'll understand what I mean. So it says, according to this story from CNBC, JP Morgan and MasterCard are on board with the technology and intend a wide rollout in the near future following successful trials. So, what technology are they on board with? Biometric payment systems. And we know exactly where it's going to lead to because that is what has been prophesied in the scriptures. Think of it like this: when we talk about the prophecies in the scriptures, we're not talking about like a maybe or a prediction. Think of it more like what we are about to see, somebody already saw. Okay, when like the Apostle John wrote down what he saw in Revelation 13 and 16, for example, this is what he saw. The Most High, right, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai gave him a vision of the future, meaning a time that's ahead of us. He saw that, okay, and wrote it down. So now we're reading it and we're reading about what we are about to see because he already saw it and wrote it down for us. Okay, so that's how we can tell you that yes, this biometric payment systems and all of that they're doing is going to lead here. We know that because somebody has already seen where it led to and they told us about it. And now we are now seeing how it actually got up to that point. So it says here, where are we? In March this year, JP Morgan signed a deal with Pop ID to begin a broad release of biometric payment systems in 2025. A MasterCard spokesman told CNBC, our focus on biometrics as a secure way to verify identity. So that means we already have a system of verifying identity. And it's as simple as, let me see your ID. And then you reach into your wallet or your pocket and then you pull out your ID. But apparently that's not secure enough, right? You have chances of like fraud, especially on the web. So we now need a biometric way to secure this because we now know that if we scan your ID and it's biometric, assume this is like some implant in your body. We know that there's only one place this signal is going to come from, and that has to be from within John Doe's body. So if whenever I scan this ID, I know that it is John Doe himself because his body is where this ID is located. So our focus on biometrics as a secure way to verify identity, replacing the password. You hear this? Replacing the password with the person is at the heart of our efforts in this area. So what do they mean by that? Well, if I have designed a website, if I'm a bank, I have a website. You sign in, and you check your bank account information, bank statements, whatever the case is, or maybe you try to purchase something online. All in all, I'm gonna need some form of a payment system, and I'm gonna need some form of ID. Identify who you are, and make sure that This is your card or your information that you're using. The only problem is there are a lot of people around the world that can access the site or try to make a payment or a transaction. How do I know it's actually you? How do I know somebody hasn't stolen your credit card or your debit card and is using it to buy this thing online? I can't tell because I can't see through their computer and see who's actually using it. But if instead of a password, which anybody can find out, they can hack it, right? They can hack your password and find out what it is. Or, they can just find it out. Maybe they're a bad actor. You told it to somebody and then boom, they're now taking advantage of you. But if we replace the password with the person, then there's only one of the person. If this person lives in New York, right? And they're now trying to make a purchase from, like, I don't know, Congo or the Maldives, you know what I mean? Or somewhere very remotely or remotely, not even remotely close, something's going on, you know? And basically they're trying to say that you have to carry you have to be your ID, you have to be your credit card, your debit card. All of that has to be you together in one. And the push here is for security, right? Apple Pay already lets you pay with a face scan, while Amazon has introduced Pay by Palm in many of their real world stores. And see, this is just like so now it starts to seem that the MOTB, the actual implant, is just one of many forms of biometric systems that we have here, as they're at least pushing for it. And hey, go back a couple of years ago, there wasn't contactless payment. Like, people weren't using contactless payments. A couple of years ago, you had to swipe your card. Then they put the chip inside. And then it's just continuing to advance more and more and more. And it's never going in reverse. It's always going towards a certain direction. So this is what it may look like today, but in 6 months from now, that'll be different. And then it'll be different. And then it'll be different. And before you know it, it's now a norm for people, like, and I'm not talking about one or two or three, but the masses of people to be making their everyday to day purchases using some biometric system, mainly maybe some implant inside of their body, unlocking their car doors, all of these things. And guess what? As they push it more and more into people, society around you also starts to upgrade to accommodate for this. And so now you have the introduction, like they call the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is that things, inanimate objects, become connected and you become connected with them. So you have smart cities, which are made of like smart, I don't know, communities, or smart houses, which are made of smart gadgets and smart people, smart cars. Everything, when they talk about an internet, it's an internetwork of different things. And in order for a network to function, all these things have to be connected some way, shape, or form and communicate with each other. So your watch is communicating with your fridge. Your fridge is communicating with, I don't know, here it is. Your fridge can make us a purchase. Imagine that. It knows, it can detect by using whether cameras or sensors to know that, hey, maybe they designed a fridge where it's compartmentalized to where when you buy milk, you put it in this specific part. If you're storing water, you put it in this specific part. If it's bread, it's here. If it's eggs, it's here. That way your fridge can detect what is where. And so if there's no milk, it knows that you're out of milk. Or maybe by measuring the weight, they can check if the milk carton is almost finished. And then it can place an order. Wow, would you look at that? It can place an order. Now, imagine that. Your fridge is now placing a grocery store order to say that you need more milk. And the grocery store is just a automatic, system that receives that order, processes it, and then packs a carton of milk into a drone, which then delivers it to your house. Like, that is the concept of the Internet of Things. You're driving home. Your car gets within a certain radius of your house. Your car tells your house. The same way you can press a key fob and then your car door opens. Your key fob is transmitting some radio frequency waves. Your car is reading that and then responding, your car is now talking to your house, telling your house it's like 2 miles away, so the house should start getting ready. If it's cold, warm it up. If it's hot, turn on the AC. You get to your door before you don't have to take out your keys. You get to your door, and your door either has a camera in front of it that scans your face and unlocks automatically, or it can detect your implant and unlocks that way. That is what they mean when they talk about the Internet of Things. And all of these things function with you at the center. So guess what? As crazy as it sounds, that's where it's headed. And people will accept it. And guess how difficult it is or it becomes to now live in a world where you do not have or you're not part of the Internet of Things. Think of it like today not having hey, yeah, that's a good example. Your rent is due, right? So here it is. You can't get into your crib. You don't pay rent, you can't get in, or your all your appliances shut off. Like that's the part that people do not think about when they think about these things. Oh, wow, that's cool. Wow. So my car can tell my house to, I don't need to do anything. It takes care of it for me. Yeah, but what happens when the government says X and you say Y? And now, if your house can do all these things for you, what can your house do against you? What if all of a sudden you liked a video that the government deems a conspiracy theory, and now they're looking for you to question you, and now you try to leave your house, and now your door's locked, and you can't unlock it. Oh wow! But you can start to see how if you're not a part of this internetwork of things, it'll be very hard to live in a world like that. It's kind of like trying to live in the world today without having access to the internet. You find out just how hard it is, right? You can't really do anything. If your phone doesn't have access, your laptop, you don't have any device that connects to the internet, you find out how hard it is to live life because you're basically cut out. You're basically like xed out of life because majority of things are connected via the internet. Phone calls, all of these things. There's some signal that's connecting somewhere, making these things happen. So if it's that hard to live now without internet or without your mobile phone, how much more difficult do you think life would be when they actually implement smart cities, smart houses, smart cars? Everything is advanced, and the basic thing you need is an implant to function in this society. You try to go open a bank account, if you don't have an implant, they can identify you. You're trying to get a new place to live. Well, all of these smart buildings, they don't give you keys. The door is not designed in a way where you put your key in there, twist it, and then the door opens. So the doors is designed that all the tenants are recognized, or their implants are recognized, and when they get to the door, it scans it and it unlocks for them. Well, how can you move into this neighborhood if you don't have that implant? And then you find out that majority of all these neighborhoods are now upgrading to that. And there's only like one or two neighborhoods which now look like the ghettos. They look so, they look like undesirable. Only one or two or three of those places might actually use like the old system. And even that, it might be temporary. Like it now you start to see why it becomes like a temptation, right? It becomes a temptation to take this implant, to take this mark, because the denial of service gets so bad that it actually starts to feel like denial of life. How do you live without being connected to the world? You have AI, AI controlling all these things too. Anyway, it says, as always, this is not just an issue in the West. Chinese companies have been leading this race for a while, with Alipay having biometric payment options since 2015. So this technology is not new. If you're worried about, wow, that sounds so advanced, how are they going to do it? It's not how are they going to do it, it's how are they going to introduce it, because they've already done it. They're not worried about the technology. They're not worried about the infrastructure or the platform. They come and tell you that, oh, we're researching and trying to find out what's a feasible way to get this done. No, they already have the technology. Okay. The feasible way is how to introduce it to the people so they can adopt it quickly. Moscow's metro system has been using facial recognition cameras for biometric payments for over a year. And it's not just payments. Replacing the password with the person has already spread to other areas. Hoping to corral support for biometrics from the right, national governments are collecting biometrics to curb illegal immigration. You can expect that to spread. Yeah. So they create the problems and they make sure that the problems are so unique that their solution just happens to be the only sensible solution that works. Um, the European Union will be implementing a new biometric entry exit system, EES, as soon as October of this year. And just like that, we are now getting to a place that we weren't before. A couple of years ago, we weren't here, but now we are. So a couple of months from now, where will we be? And the concept of the Vanessa that they brought out during the demic, that if you actually look at it on a conceptual level, that was like an example, because the main driving factor or the main problem that people faced was a denial of service, DOS. That was the main problem, being denied service because of some stipulation that you don't want to comply with. That's what this is going to run off of. You're going to be denied service, all services, because they're all going to be on some standardized format. You're going to be denied service if you are not cooperating. And it doesn't stop there. Just because you're granted access into the system today doesn't mean you will always have it, because you can be somebody that is just not permitted to join at all, or you can be somebody that gets shut out, to where you had access, but they didn't like the way you were moving, so they started to cut certain things out. It's all fun and games that your lights can turn on by themselves. It's all fun and games that you don't need to take out a card and then calculate how much and then swipe and enter your PIN. It can all detect that for you, right? In order for them to have that level of control over your cards to make life easy for you, that also gives them access to make life very difficult for you, right? Because the same card that automatically pays for you when you walk out of a store can also be shut off. And then you can't buy or sell anything. And that's the dark side that people don't think about. Biometric signing is on the rise too. Laptops, tablets, and smartphones already come with face reading and fingerprint scanning technology to confirm your identity. Social media companies have been collecting biometric data for security and identification purposes for years. Google Play launched a new biometric accessibility feature only a couple of weeks ago. It's all just so convenient, isn't it? So much faster than emailing security codes and solving increasingly impossible CAPTCHAs, both of which have unaccountably got harder and more complicated recently and will doubtlessly continue to do so. And or doubtless. And it's kind of like the concept with iPhone, right? Yes, Apple does slow down your phone when they release new, either new updates or new phones, and they do that as a marketing strategy. So you will notice that if you don't update your software, your phone can last a good amount of time before naturally, the hardware starts to deteriorate and then maybe it gets slower. But if you always get the latest update, yes, your stuff will slow down at some point in time, because they actually they de-optimize your operating system through those new updates so that you can go and get the new phone, which is said to be much better than the old one. They actually do that. Okay. And it's possible for them to do that. So it's kind of similar to that here, right? All of a sudden, there's so many two-factor authentication. There's so many captures. There's so many, emailing codes to you that is becoming more inconvenient. Eventually, you get so frustrated. You're like, yo, just give me the biometric system, man. Replace the password with me. That way, I don't got to deal with this every single time I want to sign in. You sign into your email, right? Imagine this. You just sign into your email after like 5 minutes of trying to get this code sent here and yada yada, and your hand accidentally closes the tab. And when you go to reopen the tab, you got to now sign in again and go through that same process. Eventually, as people have been bred to be, you're going to get frustrated. And eventually you're going to be like, yo, I'm done with this shit. But if you were the password, you wouldn't have to worry about that. That's how they get you. Convenience. So what do? They prime you to become dependent. They mold society to where you become, everything is convenient, and you start to depend on convenience to where you can't do anything for yourself. Look, there are people that are drug addicts today that never thought they would be drug addicts, and they never went looking for drugs, but the drugs came for them. So what it was they weren't looking for it, but somehow they managed to get a taste, and now they were hooked. So you might have been living life fine and okay, but somehow you got a taste of convenience somewhere along the lines, and then you got hooked, and now you became a society that is in love with convenience. And then and the more in love you were, the higher the demand was, and the higher the demand was, the greater the supply. And next thing you know, you're shooting up freaking, meth in your veins and shit, right? This is metaphorical, of course, but you're so addicted to the convenience. Everything is convenient, and that's how you want it. Fast, efficient, and convenient. And now that they got you where they want you, well, guess what? You get somebody addicted to drugs, you can get them to do whatever you want for that drug. Well, they got you addicted to convenience, so they can get you to do whatever it takes to keep that convenience. They won't ever remove the old-fashioned ways of accessing your accounts, but it will get increasingly slow and difficult to use while biometrics get faster and easier. This is like indirect forcing you to do something indirectly. That's what they did with the Vanessa. They said something like, "Okay, we're not gonna come and pin you down, hold you down, and force this inside of you and say you have to take this. But we will say that if you don't have this, we're not gonna do anything for you." So in other words, they're forcing you to do it, but they're forcing you without moving your actual hands. They've given you no options, so you have to move your hands, but they're not going to hold your hand and move it for you. Basically, that's what they're doing. So, well, you want to use the old-fashioned ways? Sure, go ahead. But I mean, if it's causing problems for you, well, there's always the new biometric way. We're not going to fix the old-fashioned ways. We're going to make it worse. So it's kind of like the illusion of choice. We're really forcing you in one direction. It's like when you have a herd and you start to close them in, you're not like gonna grab them and drag them to a certain position, but by closing off their paths, you force them to go in one direction. So it says, meanwhile, the propaganda will begin to flow. Influencers will be paid to use cool, futuristic biometric payment options. And you'll see that. Look, you see these people, these so-called celebrities, they promote food, they promote clothing, they promote new items. You ever like randomly seen like a basketball player or like some actor all of a sudden on this like random like commercial about lotion or like some medication or some insurance company or something like that? Like Chris Paul used to be on was it State Farm commercials? They knew that if they use him, they could get more fans. So guess what? All of a sudden, MasterCard or Chase got your favorite rapper or something, in a commercial showing how cool it is to have this implant that he got to scan and make his payments. And they'll tailor the commercial to be something like this, right? They're like, oh, yo, you heard the new Drake concert is tonight. You coming? Yeah, I'm down. And so these two guys, they get to the entrance, and then the guy's like, yo, where your tickets at? And the other guy's like, oh shit, I forgot to buy tickets. And then his homeboy's like, nah, man, chill. And so he takes out his arm, and then they scan it. and they're like, oh, all right, cool, you're good. We could just deduct it off of your implant, and then they'll play like the little, I don't know, Chase or whatever company it is, its theme song, and then basically just to commercialize it and to show you. But they're throwing in the concert, they're throwing in the convenience, they're throwing in all these things to get you hooked. It's called marketing. Anyway, it says here, influencers will be paid to use cool, futuristic biometric payment options that feel like having superpowers in contrived viral videos. Biometrics will save the day in a trendy movie or TV show. Some old fuddy-duddy will go on a question time and rant about the new technology just before saying something racist or denying climate change. You see that? And that's used to they tie in negativity with being against this new technology. And that way it's like only people like this bigot or this racist are against the new technology. So if you're against it, then you're sort of flocking in that same, group. See? Maybe a major hack or cyber attack will only affect those who haven't switched to the biometric authentication yet. So you get where they're going with it, right? Which Klaus Schwab did say this. You get the idea. And all the while, supranational corporate megaliths will be creating a massive database of voice recordings, finger and palm prints, facial and retinal scans. It's a good thing we're ruled by a morally upright elite. Imagine the damage they could do with all of that. And so here we are. So if it looks like things aren't happening, things are happening, and they're happening quick. So time is very short. Okay, but before you know it, this prophecy, which is a very, very major prophecy, will be fulfilled. And yes, it will be a big deal. So I'm going to finish it off with this. This is Luke 21:32. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all be fulfilled. And so that all includes the MOTB and all these other prophecies that are written to happen, all right, prior to the destruction. So this is where we at, and there it is, going back to the title right there. So I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying and informative to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.